This is the 2020 Lexus NX 300F Sport. It's the RAV4 version of the Lexus, and honestly, this is going to be redesigned and fully updated pretty soon. So I'm going to show you everything on the outside, the inside, and we're going to take it for a test drive. And while we do that, think about whether or not this is your choice or should you wait for the 2021 model. I can't wait to show it to you. Let's get started. Now, taking a look at the exterior details of this NX 300F Sport, you have aggressive lines all throughout the vehicle, and this F Sport gives us a specific mesh grille that you see on some other F Sport models and an F Sport bumper. The non-F Sport model has a pointier nose, and I personally prefer the way that this F Sport model looks as opposed to that. You'll get some L-themed LED daytime running lights, and we have the optional premium triple beam LED headlamps, which are actually adaptive, and we have cornering light from our LED fog lights. They look really nice at night, they're really bold, they make a big statement. It's really cool seeing that check mark as well. And I'll show you how these actually do at night in a little bit during our test drive. This color is called cadmium orange. It's a metallic color. It looks really cool at night. It looks cool during the daytime when the sun shines on it. It's got a unique look to it, and I'd love to know what you think of this and all the sculpting lines on this NX. This F Sport gives us 18-inch F Sport wheels, black heated mirrors, and both sides actually dim and automatically fold. This is a little bit bigger than the RAV4, but just a little bit. It's quite a bit smaller than the bigger Lexus RX though. We also have a sport tuned suspension because this is the F Sport model, and we have the optional adaptive variable suspension, which gives you 650 levels of damping. It adapts to different conditions and drive modes, and then as you come around the back, you still have some sculpting back here. You have L-themed taillights as well, which will look pretty nice at night, and even a dual exhaust outlet below. The NX gives you an optional foot activated rear liftgate. Now once we get this up, behind the second row, cargo space is lacking somewhat because of this, design on the outside. So there's a little bit of give and take with this fancy sporty design on the outside with some of the interior space. Back here we'll get 17.7 cubic feet. It is nice and flat. There is a liftable cargo floor where there's actually a spare tire and a little bit of storage space. There's a couple little grocery bag hooks and a couple tie downs, so it's a very practical area, including a couple of lights and a 12-volt power outlet. Now in our model, we don't have anything back here to fold down the second row seats, so you actually have to go up there to fold them down. But once you do fold them down, you get quite a bit more space, and it is somewhat flat with a little bit of an incline, 54.5 cubic feet with a 60-40 split. And one nice thing is, once you're done back here, there's a button that you can actually press that will lock it so you can just leave. Now as you hop into the front seats of the Lexus NX, you've got these F Sport seats which have enhanced bolstering on them, and it's actually New Lux synthetic leather instead of real leather. You can get real leather, but it's just not on this trim. These are power seats with 3-way memory settings, which are on the door, 2-way lumbar. I'd like to maybe see a 4-way lumbar option because it is a luxury vehicle. But overall, these seats are comfortable. I've had no complaints with them, except for the fact that the seat bottom cushion is maybe a little bit narrow, but I do like the bolstering and the overall shaping of them, and I've had no complaints really other than the little bit of narrowness around my thighs. They are perforated and they have some stitching on them, so they look nice, and they're heated and ventilated as well. One nice feature, if you want, we have the entry-exit system with the power tilt and telescoping steering wheel, and the seats will move. So that makes it really easy to get in and out. Push your button to turn it off, steering wheel and the seat will move to give you more space to get out. And to top it off, the steering wheel is leather wrapped. It's very comfortable to hold on to, and it's also heated. Now as we take a look at the rest of the interior of this F Sport, it's a little bit different with its trim pieces. It has metallic sport trim, but overall it's a dated look and feel compared to other redesigned Lexus models that appear and feel much more premium. Now don't get me wrong, this isn't a bad interior, but when you look at the rest of the new Lexuses, this is definitely not up to par with those. Over on the door, we still have nice soft touches where we need them, some stitching, and my bottle actually fits in the door pocket. Behind our steering wheel, we'll find some nice paddle shifters, And then we have a couple large gauges. We have technically 4 gauges up here, and then there's a small screen in the middle. It's just a 4.2-inch screen. It is easy to read. It gives you the necessary information, but I wish you could kind of customize things on here a little bit more as far as what you could see and maybe have 2 screens at once. Then moving over to the center stack, we have the upgraded 10.3-inch screen, which you use a remote touchpad. Typically you'll get an 8-inch screen, but this one is the upgraded screen, which gives us the Mark Levinson 14 speaker 835 watt system, which does sound good, but when it's turned up in this model, we do get some vibration, which is not normal in the other Lexuses that I've been in. This Lexus actually also gives us Apple CarPlay, plus we get Amazon Alexa, navigation, HD radio, Sirius XM. And then moving down the center stack is pretty interesting. We have dual zone climate control, but I really don't like the way that it's angled up towards the ceiling. Otherwise, it's not too bad. You get an actual CD player, get a nice shifter, some drive mode selections, and then our touchpad is below that. Now, one complaint with this NX is just kind of this whole center stack area. One, I can't really always see what the readout is or where the lights are lit up, like my heated seat or ventilated seat buttons, when the sun is shining down, because they're pointing up towards the ceiling. Definitely a small first world complaint. And there's no actual storage, open bin storage right here. It all just kind of takes up a lot of space, and it can feel a little bit claustrophobic right here. My bottle fits in the bottle holders, which is great, and there's even a little mirror that you can pull out right here if you want to just, check yourself out, do your makeup or whatever, and then it blends in seamlessly with some nice material. The center armrest is really nice and wide as well. Lifts up, you've got a little tray, you've got 2 USB ports and an auxiliary port, and it's actually pretty soft in there and pretty decent size. One disappointing thing though is we just have a regular sunroof available, no panoramic option, and there's no sunglass holder. It's just nice to have the convenience of a sunglass holder, but what can you say? We still get an automatic dimming rearview mirror and garage controls up here. The back seat of the NX still has the nice same synthetic New Lux seats. They've got some perforation, although they're not heated or ventilated. Lexus doesn't cheap out on the door either. You've got the same materials and a soft armrest over here. And sitting behind myself at 5'9", I can still sit here without my head touching. I can kind of feel my hair touch, but headroom, legroom, not too bad. The legroom isn't quite as good as I would maybe hope for a vehicle a little bigger than a RAV, but design-wise, this is still pretty good. There's not much of a hump in the middle either, so somebody might be able to sit there. There's a seat back pocket on both sides. You've got this nice large armrest with a couple little pop-out cup holders. These seats can't scoot forward and backwards, but they can recline a pretty good amount. Now for some niceties, we have AC vents right here in front of us, but there's no USB ports, no 12-volt power outlet, which is something I would expect in a luxury crossover. And I just would expect at this price, over 50 grand, to have maybe some heated seats in the back. When this Lexus NX first came out, it really surprised me because it had a turbo. Lexus had been using naturally aspirated engines for quite some time, and to see them bring out a turbo really surprised me. However, the good thing about this turbo is that unlike most turbos, it's not just gasoline direct injected. This has their D4S technology, meaning it's direct, and some port injection as well to help prevent that nasty carbon buildup. There are 2 powertrain options. There's this 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine and a hybrid model. This 2-liter twin scroll turbo will put out 235 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque, paired with a very smooth and reliable 6-speed automatic transmission. 0 to 60 is going to be 7 seconds flat with this all-wheel drive model. This all-wheel drive can actually push 50% of the power to the rear wheels. Efficiency is not the strong suit though. Front-wheel drive model is going to get 22 city, 28 highway, and then the all-wheel drive is going to get 22 city, 27 highway. If efficiency is your main thing though, go for the NX 300H, which is the hybrid, which is going to give you 33 miles per gallon in town and 30 on the highway. Now let's take this NX out on the road and see how it does. All right, everyone, it sure did get dark out. We are on the test drive portion here. So we get push button start, and then I wanted to really show you these adaptive headlights. And they got a good rating from the IIHS, which is the highest rating that you can get. And so I'm going to do my normal kind of test drive here, but we're still going to look at the automatic high beams and the adaptive headlamps and see how all that goes. One cool thing about the Lexus is that when you approach it, you can do remote start with your key fob, and the door handles will light up, and you have illuminated sill plates. So right off the bat, one really cool feature is, so I'm going to turn the fog lights off. You don't have to have them on for this, but to show you the cornering function, so if I put my blinker on to the left, it really illuminates that entire side. And same thing over to the other side, it'll illuminate that whole area. So when it's really dark, that is really handy, especially if you're going around some corners or anything like that, in addition to the adaptive function of the actual headlamps up here. So they're gonna corner with me, they're gonna corner with me, then straighten back out, go to the left, go to the right. And it's kind of interesting, it's like a little eyeball moves independent from the other eyeball. So my first impression of the NX is that this turbo doesn't necessarily feel like a turbo. You don't get a whole bunch of boost that comes out of it. It honestly seems to be a little more, it feels more like a naturally aspirated engine than any other turbo I've been in, as far as I can tell. Let's go ahead and get on it. Alright, and you could hear that extra sound coming in there. This is not quick. Well, it's somewhat quick, but it's not fast, and it's on the slower end for a 2-liter turbo, but it's still fairly peppy. And like I said, it does feel kind of like a naturally aspirated engine, but just a little throttle, you still get a little bit of boost that comes out of it. So that is nice. One thing different with this is we have the F Sport, so we have a sport tune suspension. That's going to stiffen things up a little bit. It's going to give us supposedly a little bit better handling. Plus, we have the adaptive variable suspension, which can adjust to different road surfaces depending on if we put it in Sport Plus as well. And overall, I would say it's been a comfortable ride. It's not harsh at all. It's not a hard ride. It's not necessarily a sporty ride, you know, with the F Sport name, but it's not bad. We'll push it a little bit. As far as the actual steering here, you can even see a little bit of the adaptive headlamp function on here, even just a little bit. Another nice feature is the mirror up above is automatic dimming. The passenger mirror is automatic dimming, and my mirror is automatic dimming. So I got headlights behind me and they don't bother me at all. Now if I kind of slow down a little bit, we get at a little bit of a lower speed, and then go ahead and partial throttle. Get a little bit of boost out of that, and it's not a push you back into your seat kind of power coming from this little turbo. I'd like to see maybe a little better fuel efficiency out of it, considering it's not that powerful, but the fact that it's direct and port injected is a big deal to me. Now the brakes on the NX, they have a good feel. It's nothing too touchy, and it's not a huge pedal play in it, but they maybe don't seem to stop as well as I was hoping for, but actual numbers, I'm not real sure. Now we're on a real dark road out here. Give you an idea of the headlights, and they're casting out pretty darn far. Now I'm going to turn the high beams on. The automatic high beams are on, and those high beams are great. You can see super well down here. And the low beams are still going to have their adaptive function. Let me turn the high beams off. See how this adaptive function goes around this corner. Those are honestly going right where I'm going. They're doing a great job around this corner. Wow. They were perfectly in line with where I was actually going with the car. High beams back on, and you can see forever. Those high beams are great. These triple beam LEDs, I think the low beams sit kind of low, especially on the driver's side, but with these high beams, everything's really illuminated. Even off into the ditches is really good. I'm gonna turn them off, accelerate around the corner here. The adaptive function worked really well going around that corner. It's gonna be better going to the right because the beams sit a little bit higher. Hustling a little more around here. And you can have a little bit of fun with this NX. It's nothing crazy fun, nothing too exciting, but you can still have a little bit of fun. And I don't think most people are gonna buy this for fun. You're gonna buy this because it's a Lexus. You're gonna buy it because it should be reliable. You have the aggressive looks though, and you have at least the F-Sport package. High beams just turned back on after they had turned off, and now they turned off again. So they are doing well. I know in the RX, going around a couple corners, they were a little finicky, but for the most part in everyday driving, they're gonna do really well. Now, if you wanna see the Lexus Safety System 2.0, we can definitely do that. I have a video showcasing that on the RX and all of those features. This also has the 360 camera, the surround view camera that I forgot to show you. Which does a nice job, and you'll see all that and how the radar cruise does and lane keeping system and all that in that Lexus RX. Now, one little complaint with the NX is it's not as quiet as a Lexus should be. And I don't know if you saw right there, the high beams turned on and they stayed on for a while to that poor car. I almost shut them off myself, so not perfect. But more on the noise. We're on a road with louder, kind of a rocky surface. And there's a fair amount of road noise that gets in here. Wind noise is fairly well contained. That's not much of a problem, but there's just more road noise than I was hoping for, especially for a Lexus. It should not be this loud. In fact, I believe the Mazda CX-5 was quieter than this. And some people might honestly cross-shop this and that. And there's no reason that a mainstream vehicle should be quieter than this Lexus. Overall, it's been a fun vehicle to drive for the most part, very easy to live with, and spacious enough for most people's needs in this compact luxury segment. So to wrap things up with this 2020 Lexus NX, this S-Sport model is definitely on the sportier end, or the sportier spectrum of the NX models. Now, there's no denying that this Lexus NX is definitely getting long in the tooth, especially when you look at some of the redesigns of the recent Lexus models. If you're not used to being in a luxury vehicle or even a Lexus, this is still going to seem like a nice vehicle for you, which it is. But when you get in some of the newest Lexuses and some other luxury vehicles, this just isn't quite up to par. However, this is still probably a reliable, still a fairly practical, and a sporty looking little crossover that I think you would be happy with. Now personally, I would rather wait for the redesigned Lexus NX and see exactly what they have with that. And if you're really looking for a Toyota Lexus branded vehicle in this price range, maybe even consider the top-end limited RAV4. Be sure to subscribe for regular weekly videos, night reviews, full reviews. Check out some of these other videos. Thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.